Hey, welcome back everybody. As I mentioned, I wanted to redo Paternoster Rig double, but with the difference this time being that I'm using a T dropper or T loop instead of a dropper loop that was suggested to me as a preferred option. To help prevent any type of hooks getting stuck, swivels, risk of kinks and all that sort of stuff. So I've tried a few out and I quite like it, so I thought I might demo with that one instead. And I also noticed a mistake with one of my previous ones and I wanted to fix that up. So the polymer knot was one of the mistakes I noticed, that when I demoed this for you guys, I actually made a mistake with the knot that I noticed later, so I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention so that when you looked at it, you weren't making the mistake I was demonstrating, which I apologize for. So once you made your loop and you fed it through, you're crossing it over once, creating a loop, and you're feeding it back through that single loop. Before I did an extra loop, that's not required, so just single loop, feed it back through, and then this loop then goes over either the swivel, the clip, or the hook, and then it tightens up. Now if you because I've got the ends sticking out here, you sort of let it go and you can see the knot. That's what it sort of looks like. And as you slowly tighten it, make sure we always slowly tighten fluorocarbon or mono leader. This prevents burn and any crinkles or issues with the degrading of the line. So always pulling these slow just helps prevent any of that. Now if you notice like one end is looser or tighter than the other, it might mean that one particular strip, one of these needs to be pulled tighter than the other, or we didn't pull it exactly the same. So it looks like this end needs to be pulled tighter, and I'll tighten up that loop, and there we go. You can hear it just snap into place, and that is the proper polymer loop knot, rather than what we were showing before. So it's easy to get it into place and prevents it slipping or anything like that. So I just wanted to demo that one again quickly and trim off the excess. Now, as this is one I'm going to be using for my own benefit, I'm sticking on, this one's just a small popper. Small float popper with a hook that you can attach bait to if you want to, and you don't have to, but I've stuck some Lumo beads on here as well, just to help with some night fishing for some of the glow possibilities. Once again, it's not required, you don't need to put those in there. I'm just doing it for my own sake, for my one. Now when you come down to do the loop for the T, the important bit is picking where you want to do it. So you come down to, it's really up to you, because you're just allowing a little bit of freedom for that popper to move up and down. So anywhere around here is pretty good. And what you do is you're grabbing a loop like this, which I might give myself a little bit more room. And then what you're doing is you're feeding this back over its line to create a hole, and it'll look like this with that loop there and this loop over the top. And what we're doing is we're feeding this under and over that loop that you created, and you do this roughly 5 times. 3, 4, 5. I think that's roughly about 5. And then you tighten this up. Once again, slowly tighten the loop to prevent kinks degrading in the fluorocarbon leader. And you want a nice big loop on this end. Put your finger in there and just keep slowly working it nice and tight, pulling it together. You should end up with a knot that looks like almost, once it's tightened nicely, lots of little rings, okay? And those, you can either stop here if you wanted to, because when you pull this apart, it doesn't move that knot. But the next portion of this is that you basically create a dropper loop where this actually drops through the dropper loop and pushes this slightly out from the main line, a bit like a three-way swivel. So the key to it is you then form another loop, much like you're doing with the dropper loop. Now the essential portion is, sometimes it takes a little bit of funny, like figuring out which way to place it and which one goes underneath and which one goes over the top, to make sure that the T-loop stays out the back for when you start doing your twists. So if we create a loop like this, and I grab, hold on, I'm just making sure I got that, and I create a loop, and I grab this and I start feeding it through the gap, and I'm doing unders and overs through this gap, and I'll try and, well, I've got to do one more because otherwise it'll come undone. One more of these. You'll notice how, I'll try and move these out of the way, you've got, same as dropper loop, you've got twists on the left and on the right of me, and the dropper loop sitting out the back, so that I can grab it and pull it through the gap once I finish. So you do this same roughly about 5 times. Let's count. So looks roughly about 5. Yeah, let's hope that's 5. Then the next step, now this is key, you grab your dropper loop, you feed it through the hole that you've created, and you put it, make sure that the knot's just sitting on the other side of the line. Once again, this becomes the essential point, is that we're going to tighten up either side of this dropper loop. Now we do it slowly and carefully, so we don't mess up the the fluorocarbon. And it doesn't matter if one side's done more than the other at any one time. You can do them, if I had my teeth, I'd grab that dropper loop and hold it in place. But because I'm trying to do this for the video's sake, I don't want to mess it up. And what I want to do is see how that loop is right butt up against where I created this knot here. We need to keep the dropper loop and this T-knot close together. Now, as they're starting to get better, like you can see this is starting to come together, I can sort of move my hands further away and I can slowly begin to tighten this up, and you can see how it slowly starts to form. Once again, don't rush it, just gently. Sometimes just the lava helps to stop it from warming up too much. As it slowly tightens up, you can hear it's pulling together nicely. There we go. I'll grab a bit more and pull. Okay, so you have a dropper loop and a T loop. So this actually sticks out from the main line, much like a three-way swivel. Okay, so she sticks out slightly, she's within this dropper loop, it's not going to come apart. the other benefit with this, and when you can feed your hooks on, they're not going to get tangled with the main line. So you can like feed the actual hook straight onto here if you want, or as I do with a lot of mine, I want to be able to be maneuverable or change up my options. I actually link on, you know, a hook or a soft plastic so that it can float with the current. And I use these loops because the fluorocarbon leader is invisible and they won't see it, unlike a three-way swivel which they see. So this basically replicates a three-way swivel. Okay, and that's done where it's done properly. You can see how you've got the knots going this way, nice and circled, knots where it's not tangled up the actual fluorocarbon, it's not degraded at all, and you end up with circles either side and it's pushed it out slightly. So that's a proper and really nicely done loop. It takes a little bit of practice sometimes to get it right, and it's very cautious. Just doing that last little bit, slowly pulling it together is the important portion, and going nice and easy and slow with it is the key, and making sure that the dropper loop stays really close to, the T-loop stays really close to the main line. If it's not right up against it, it'll hang off a little bit further, and it just one, it doesn't look as nice, and two, it's just doesn't hold the same practicality. Now that you can leave this as a single and simply attach a fast attachment in the bottom and put a sinker on the end, and away you go with, say, a gang hook or something. But as this is mine, I want to do a double. So when I do a double, I always make sure that, I'd like to make sure that if I attach on any sort of other hook, that hopefully, wherever possible, the loop, the next one, should be just below where that hook or whatever finishes. So generally I make these the same sort of length. This one's longer than normal. I don't usually make them this long. That looks like it's like 35 centimeters. So I like the length, because further away from this means less artificial stuff the fish are going to see. So it's good to have a longer trace lead, but sometimes a little bit shorter can help for other reasons, like my game's probably a little bit shorter. I would finish earlier. So I generally aim about, say, 35 centimeters or so away. And remember, because we don't want to make it super long, that it's too long to cast. But that's that. Now I'll do one more demo of this at a slow pace so that you guys can see it again, because it's always good to see them done twice. And I've got to make sure enough for my sinker at the bottom. Yeah, it looks like it should be. So this is where I want to start it. Yeah, roughly. So you form a loop, and then you're twisting it on. Actually, I might. Oh, I'm going to shorten that. Yeah, that's a bit better. I shorten this onto it. So you create a loop, cross it over its main line, and then you basically under and over 5 times. So 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. Grab your loop. This is, like, again, the important portion. If you pull, don't tighten this correctly, and because I made the loop a little bit smaller at this end, should have fixed it as I went. We want to have a nice, as I tighten it, you can see it slowly pulling together. Now I've got enough room to fit my finger in it. As you slowly tighten this together, it should form nice little loops that come together nicely at the bottom to create a little bit of space between the main line and the loop. So that's that's what it should end up looking like when you've done it properly. If it doesn't look like that and it looks a little messed up, then it didn't quite pull that together nicely. So it's essential just to pull it and nice and slowly get it going together. Next key point is the dropper loop. Now, as I said, sometimes this might create a little bit of fiddly bits where you're like, which one crosses over where? But as long as you're making sure, so this way I'm going this way, I'm grabbing this and I'm dropping it through here. So I created a loop, grabbing the tag, and I'm going to feed it through the loop to create just like I would a dropper loop, and we rotate this around itself about 5 times. And then all you do is you grab the T, you feed it through the gap. When it's through the gap, you make sure it's on the other side make sure it's on the other side of those 2 lines. That's it. And then, see, this is on that side. I straighten this up so that when I tighten it, it's going to tighten properly. So we start pulling the ends of the dropper loop together to tighten it up slowly. And as you can see, it sort of moved below the little line, so below the loop, so put it back on top. Sometimes it helps holding your thumb on the place where you need it to be as you tighten this. Once it starts tightening properly, you can sort of let it go, as I've let mine go, and you can slowly start to tighten it. See, that's perfect. That dropper loop, the T-loop sitting just outside the dropper loop knot, and as I'm tightening it, you can see it's forming a perfect knot. And there you go. Another really well, perfectly done T dropper loop. So stop getting things attached. And then last but not least, a simple fast attachment so that we can hook on and change whatever sinker or option that you want at the bottom. So whether you want breakaway sinkers, star sinkers, drop sinkers, spoon sinkers, really it doesn't matter. Having that dropper thing there is fantastic, because it just enables us to quickly choose and change. On my fishing on the weekend, I did a few changes where I changed the size of my weights quite often, depending on the conditions. Stopped being so windy, so I didn't need the heavy weight to get it out there as much. So I went to something smaller, and then because it was getting snags, I switched to like a dollop style sinker, and to prevent that from happening. So like I said, you can pull both at the same time. You sort of tighten it up and then have a look, and if one of the lines isn't messed up, you sort of pull them either side until it lines up. Hold on. Oh, there we go. So another perfectly done polymer knot. Okay, so that is a double paternoster rig with 2 T-loop attachments. So it means that you can be really versatile with your fishing options and changing sinker options and changing hook options, and even things like adding in. I did this the other day just for something different. I chucked on one of the new Nomad swimmings, and all I do is clipper on, and she has a fast attach on one end so that it can retain its natural movement as it floats through the current in the water. And that went on there as another option to present. So you know, you have heaps of options with this. So that's that done with the tees. So over the dropper loops, I would say my preference has now become these tees. Definitely pokes out more, prevents the slippage, and you can attach your sinker your hook straight onto. The other thing is, if you really wanted to, you can actually cut this loop and tie on a single hook if you really wanted to, and it will not affect the actual line itself. So even if you pull this way, it's not going to undo anything. That's the bonus of this as well. All right, so that's that double paternoster with the T style knots as a way of doing the loops rather than using swivels. And hopefully that was of help to you guys, and gives you some more options going forward when you're making your own rigs up. Subscribe for some more, and I'll be doing some other ones coming up soon. So maybe some I'll go through some of the things I did up over the other day when I was bored. I made heaps of new rigs and stuff where I can add options to it, like saying add floaters or add stuff to the top and all sorts of things. But anyway, that's enough of that. And I'll put that up there for you guys to have a look in and go from there. Thank you very much again.